Hello, my name is James Ungureanu, and I am the author of Science, Religion, and the Protestant Tradition, Retracing the Origins of Conflict, published by University of Pittsburgh Press. The story of the conflict thesis, the idea that there's a fundamental and irrevocable conflict between science and religion, is part of our modern self-understanding. You ask anyone on the street, what is the relationship between science and religion? And more likely than not, they'll tell you there's some kind of conflict or warfare going on between them. Historians of science have traced the origins of the conflict thesis to the 19th century, and particularly to two individuals. John William Draper, who was a chemistry professor at New York University, and Andrew Dickson White, who was co-founder and first president of Cornell University. Historians of science argue that Draper and White constructed the dramatic narratives in the 19th century that cast religion as a relentless enemy, as a relentless foe of scientific progress. And yet, despite its resilience in popular culture, historians today have largely debunked and denounced the conflict thesis. In my book, however, I argue that Draper and White actually hoped their narratives would preserve religious beliefs, would save religion from the onslaught of modern science and disbelief. They were hoping to save religion from itself, as it were. For them, science was ultimately a scapegoat for a much larger and more important argument that dates back, ironically, to the Protestant Reformation, where one theological tradition was pitted against another, a more progressive, liberal, and diffusive Christianity against a more traditional, conservative, and orthodox Christianity. By the mid-19th century, narratives of conflict between science and religion were largely deployed between contending theological schools of thought. What was once a polemic against the Roman Catholic Church that used history, that used reason, that used the developments in understanding the natural world, was soon transformed into a battle between contending Protestant traditions. However, these narratives were later appropriated by secularists, free thinkers, and atheists at the end of the 19th century, at the beginning of the turn of the century, as weapons against all religion. By revisiting its origins, development, and popularization, I argue that the conflict thesis was just one of the many unintended consequences of the Protestant Reformation. So my book goes beyond just tracing the motivations and the intentions of Draper and White, but it's a much larger story, much broader story of the history of Christian thought and modernity. Thank you.